The lawyer finished reading my father's will, and the room went silent. My brother leaned back in his chair with a satisfied smirk, already celebrating his victory. The house, the business, the savings, everything had been left to him. I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me, waiting for anger, disappointment, maybe even a fight. Instead, I smiled, calmly, quietly. Then I looked toward my father's empty chair and said, "Dad, you really didn't tell him, did you?" The lawyer stopped gathering his papers. My brother's smile faded. In that moment, he thought he had won everything, but what he didn't know was that the real story had only just begun. Growing up, my brother was always the one people noticed first. He was confident, loud, and naturally charming. Teachers praised him, relatives admired him, and my father proudly introduced him as the future of the family. I was different. I preferred numbers over conversations, quiet work over attention. While he stood beside Dad greeting clients and shaking hands, I stayed in the back office reviewing accounts, organizing records, and learning how the business truly functioned. It never bothered me that he was the favorite. I believed every family has roles, and I accepted mine without complaint. But my father saw more than anyone realized. He rarely praised me publicly, yet he trusted me with responsibilities. He never gave my brother passwords, contracts, financial decisions, and late-night discussions about stability, risk, and long-term security. When he became ill, those conversations grew more frequent, and I began to understand that he was preparing for something. Have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever watched someone assume you were weak only because you stayed quiet? Sometimes the strongest position is the one no one notices. If you were sitting in that room, watching your sibling inherit everything while you received nothing, what would you do? Would you fight for your share, or would you stay silent and wait? Let me know what you think and stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. My father built his company from nothing. Every decision he made was deliberate, and he believed success wasn't about appearance but about structure. My brother handled public relations and client entertainment. He loved being seen as the face of the business. Meanwhile, I handled internal systems, tax filings, operational costs, legal paperwork, compliance details, the parts no one applauds but everything depends on. Dad often said, "A building doesn't collapse because of what people see. It collapses because of what they don't." At the time, I didn't realize he was teaching me more than accounting. He was teaching me control. When my father's health declined, my brother avoided difficult conversations. He preferred optimism, insisting Dad would recover. I, on the other hand, sat with Dad during hospital visits and late evenings at home, reviewing documents he insisted needed updating. He explained risk exposure, liability structures, and the importance of protecting assets from future disputes. He emphasized contingency planning, backup ownership structures, silent controlling rights, and legal safeguards that would keep the company stable regardless of emotional conflict. I assumed this was standard preparation. I never imagined how critical those discussions would become. The day the will was read confirmed what everyone expected. My brother inherited the house, the business building, the company name, the visible assets, everything that looked powerful. A few relatives gasped. One aunt shook her head sympathetically toward me. My brother even muttered, "Dad trusted me to lead." I nodded and congratulated him. I meant it, because I knew something he didn't. Months before my father passed, he had quietly restructured the company's legal framework. Ownership had been separated from operational control. Intellectual property rights, licensing authority, and silent controlling shares were transferred through a secondary agreement, one my father reviewed with me personally. The public assets were valuable, but they carried operational costs, maintenance obligations, and debt responsibilities tied to expansion loans my brother never knew existed. The true control of revenue streams, decision authority, and licensing income existed within a separate holding structure, one designed to protect the business from impulsive leadership. When I spoke in that room, it wasn't to humiliate my brother. It was to acknowledge the truth my father had prepared for. The lawyer cleared his throat and reopened his folder. He confirmed there was an additional controlling agreement filed months earlier. My brother's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. He flipped through the documents, searching for a mistake. There wasn't one. He had inherited the empire everyone could see. I had inherited the authority that determined how it functioned. The room felt smaller. No one spoke. He accused me of manipulating Dad, of planning behind his back. I didn't raise my voice. I simply told him the truth. Dad had prepared the company to survive, not to flatter egos. He knew leadership required discipline, patience, and understanding of consequences. This wasn't revenge, it was responsibility. In the weeks that followed, my brother faced the reality of ownership without control. The buildings required maintenance. Loans required structured repayment. Operational decisions required approval. Meanwhile, I ensured the company continued functioning, employees remained paid, and clients experienced stability. I never exposed him publicly, and I never tried to humiliate him. Over time, his anger softened into reluctant understanding. For the first time, he began asking questions instead of making declarations. I eventually moved into a smaller office and stepped away from daily operations, choosing to oversee strategy rather than visibility. The company stabilized. My brother matured, and the rivalry that once defined us slowly faded into mutual respect. Sometimes winning isn't about taking everything. Sometimes it's about understanding what truly matters and allowing others to learn what victory really costs. If you had been in my position, would you have revealed the truth in that room, or would you have waited? And do you think my father made the right decision? If stories about silent justice and unexpected outcomes fascinate you, stay tuned because the next story may challenge what you believe about fairness, loyalty, and family.